Hey guys, this video was supposed to be up a few days ago, but I had some computer problems. And so after getting all of that figured out and worked through, I had to get set up for some whatnot sales and stuff like that. So I'm just now getting around to posting the video. But I do want to say thank you to David for joining me for this chat. I had a great time with him. This was my first interview, so as you'll probably be able to tell, I was a little awkward, but I had a great time talking to him. If you guys haven't, please go check him out over at Comic Book Investments. It is a great YouTube channel over there. He's been in the business for a long time, so he's got a lot of information over there that is very useful. And go check out his website, collectorscomics.com. We are joining them over there. They just sent us some flyers that we're going to be shipping out with some orders. So we've already got some orders up and very excited to be joining over there and hopefully helping their business grow while they help ours. So enjoy the video. Hey guys, this is Brad, and I'm joined with David from Comic Book Investments here on YouTube. And David also has a website called Comic Book Investments. Shit, I wrote that down. Collectors Comics, my bad.
Yes, yeah.
That he's been running for quite some time, and I've been watching David probably about 3 years. It was right.
Dang, so like from the beginning.
Pretty much, yeah. So around that time, I got sober off of alcohol, and I've been sober since. But that's when I had a huge comic book collection, and I was just a hoarder, just like I get it all in as fast as I possibly can. And then I realized that the market was just going absolutely nuts. So I started going through my old comic books and putting them up on eBay and learning a bunch from you, Comic Tom, all those guys that were blowing up around that time. But I've really stuck with your channel through all of it, for sure. And I've enjoyed all your videos. I've even heard you talk about how some of the ones you've done research on seem to be some of the lowest views. I've watched them all. I love them.
Yeah.
You do some great research, for sure.
Yeah, the biggest one that always comes to mind that I'll never forget is I did this Deadpool versus Wolverine where I basically took the comic characters and like the movie and video games and like found out like how many issues did they appear in, like how many like times did they meet, how many like teams have they been on, like how much each of their movies make, you know, like this all these stats. And I spent so much time and I released it and it's like 700 views and I'm like, what? I'm like, this is lower than anything I've ever done. And this was recent. This was like, you know, a few months ago. And I was like, how is this possible? This can't be real. And it's so like, well, for me, I'm like, I would say like a low video for me would be like 2,000 views, right?
Sure.
That's like a low video. And, you know, and that's fine. But this, I'm like, I spent like so many hours and I wrote up a script and I set it all, then I edited it all together. I just spent so much time on it. And I was just like, oh my God. It's like, or I could just literally rant about like, who knows what, just pick a random comic book and just rant about it for like 5 minutes and, you know, no effort whatsoever. And it'll just like, oh, 5,000 views. I'm like, oh God.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I remember whenever you started, like actually putting kind of like a section for your rant, you know, it'd pop up like a rant time. And I guess people just loved it. I mean, obviously they were funny as shit, but I guess people just really were drawn to those. I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, people love the rants. I do most of my videos, except the ones like that Wolverine one. They're all off the cuff. So like when I go into it, I might make slides. So even when I make slides for like 5 going up, 5 going down, I usually do every weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to say. I might have the slide, so I have the information, but it's like I just react. So everything, like when I'm showing comics or anything and something piques my interest, that way, that's why I ramble and go off tangents and stuff like that, because I don't have anything planned.
Makes sense. Makes for great content for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you have been in the business for a long time. Like I said, I've been watching you for a while. But for our viewers here that don't know anything about you, could you just tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I've been in the comic book business. Well, not business, I guess, this into comic books since I was born, because my dad was a comic book dealer. Um, he started right about the time I was born, maybe a little bit before. He used to do construction, and then he sold that and then got into comics. And then, yeah, so I've been around comics my whole life. I used to work for my dad at bag and board, um, and he used to pay me a penny per every bag and board. But then as I got older, I got faster. So then he's like, whoa, this is not making any sense. So then he started paying me by the hour because I would get so fast at it. And I would always take that money and just buy comic books with it. And I would work constantly. And then as I got older, I would grade. So I was grading comic books probably around like 9 and 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then, I would sort collections for him, alphabetize, things like that. He would also do a catalog, a mail order catalog. This is prior to the internet ever existing. And so we'd stuff the catalogs and he would do that. So, yeah, I've been around it. And then he sold his business. And then when I was in high school, towards the end of high school, then I basically went off and just did random jobs and stuff like that. He went and started working for Heritage years later. He retired, but then life happened and he had to come out of retirement. And then I was just doing random jobs. And then me and my brother started this business, Collectors Comics, where we were dealers. And at first, I was working for a doctor at the time as like a medical biller, office manager, personal assistant, medical assistant, all sorts of stuff. So in California, you can give shots to, I don't know if this is still law, but at the time you can give shots with no training whatsoever and draw blood as long as a doctor is present. And so here I am, never trained at all. And I literally had to draw blood from people and give them shots. Literally just, he's like, this is how you do it. I'm like, okay. And I would do it.
Good God, that's wild.
It was wild. So if you want to hear a funny story, which is kind of weird, but I'll always remember this. So we used to work at the immigration office on Tuesdays. So we'd go down there at like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And basically he would check over for medical status and stuff like that, people that wanted to get their green cards or citizenship. And then we would give them all the appropriate vaccinations that they didn't have when they're coming to this country. So most of the time, he said, David used to do with everything. So this one time, he's like, I'm tired, David. And he goes in the other room and takes a nap. So I'm just going through this guy's paperwork and all this kind of, no medical training whatsoever.
Sure.
So that's what kind of made it fun. But so I'm giving this guy this shot. And so we have like this little container where you throw away the bad needles. So I was giving him, I don't remember what it was. It was either MMR or tetanus. I forget, a vaccination. So I do it like I've always done it. Give him the shot, throw it away, turn back. All of a sudden, his head goes in the back. His eyes roll in the back of his head. And he makes this weird noise. He's like,
oh God,
like some weird horror movie. And I'm like, what just happened? And then dead silent. And then I'm like, oh my God, I killed him. And then so I run to them. I was like, Dr. Mike, wake up. He's what? He's like, I think I killed him. And so he runs in there with him. And then he's like shaking him. And then he's like, oh, what happened? And then like the guy peed himself. He's a grown man, peed himself. And I was like, what happened? And then Dr. Mike's like, he's like, so do you have some kind of allergic reaction to shots that you didn't tell us about? And he's like, well, I kind of done this before, and I didn't want to tell you because I didn't think it would happen. And I'm like, here I thought I just killed the guy. And this is like, he has some emotional reaction to like, he's very afraid of needles and shots, and his body just like shut down or something. I don't know, but he didn't want to tell us. And so I was just like, oh my God. I was like, I literally thought I killed him. I thought like, what did I do? I put it in a vein and it went into his heart and killed him and all this kind of stuff. Oh, so.
Well, at least you know how to do it now, just in case that ever comes.
Yeah, that was many, many years ago.
Oh,
but since then, we started this business. I was still working for him and slinging comics on the side, doing a comic book dealer. And then once we made enough money where I didn't have to do that anymore, I quit and went full time. I've been doing it since 2009. So
full time since 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's quite some time.
Yeah, and so I like I said, I collected comics as a kid, and I had a pretty big collection. So when I started it, I basically sold. We would use my collection that I had as a kid and sold it And that's how I got money, because we each came in with like 10 grand each.
Uh-huh.
And so that's how I came in with my 10 grand.
Gotcha. Man, okay. Let's see. And I also saw that recently you guys started offering up people to come onto your website and deal along with you guys. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So at first we built the website and it was auctions, but we're doing things in phases. So the first phase was we're going to auction off our own stuff. Or first it was the marketplace, and the marketplace is like, just think of it like a Buy It Now. And we had anyone can list, like anyone you see, they can list their books as a Buy It Now. We charge nothing, 100% free, no fees whatsoever. Even if the book sells, no fees. Like, we don't charge a dime. We have no final value fees, none of that stuff. So you can list your books on there, put whatever price you want, and work out whatever payment details you want. So we had that first. Then we did our own auctions, which we still have right now, where we do weekly auctions and featured auctions, which is every quarter, and where you send in your stuff and all we take is 5%. We don't have a buyer's premium or anything like that. So we're the cheapest by far, and we only take 5% of the sale to do that. And we do all the work. You send it to us, we ship everything, list everything, collect the money, give it to you, all that stuff. And then, so we open up weekly auctions where we do the same thing on the weekends. And now we're opening up to other dealers / sellers, people that are not just anyone, but people that, are like you, that are like, this is like a job for me, whether it's part-time or full-time, someone that understands comics and knows the industry and cares about their customers and, knows the difference between a restored book and a non-restored book. And that way, people aren't getting mad.
Actually counts the pages.
Yeah, counts the pages, all that kind of stuff. Like, actually treats us like, real customers and a real business, whether you're small or big. And so we're bringing on other dealers, sellers like that, such as yourself, and we charge no fees whatsoever for that. So the only fees that we basically charge is if you want us to do the work, which is like a featured auction or something, sell it for you, we're 5%. But someone like you can sell for free, 0 fees whatsoever. We've already brought on a couple other sellers already. We had one do their first week ever, and they were from eBay, and they do probably like $30,000 to $40,000 a month on eBay. And so they just did their first week, but like last week or something. And they said that I wish I knew about this sooner, because the fact that they go for similar prices on eBay, but then you're not paying almost 15% in fees.
Exactly.
So
very nice. I can't wait, because we are going to be joining in very, very soon. Just got these flyers in the other day, and I can't wait to ship these things out and tell people about it, guys. We are super excited to join in.
So if you do want to join, if you are like a seller / dealer or something like that, small or big, whatever, just hit me up, and, I'll send you out flyers to send to your current customer base, and then we'll bring you on like a couple weeks after that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a very easy process. So absolutely, I am totally into it. I cannot wait. Last question I wanted to ask you. Like you said, you've been in this for a long time. Your dad's been in this for a long time. You've seen the ebbs and flows of this community and this market. What is your take on the current market, and what do you think people should be doing, and where should they be putting their money in?
So, like all things, you make most of your money when you buy. So depending on, you got to get a good deal. That's number one. In terms of the current market, we are in much better shape than we were a few years ago. So what we had is we had the huge comic book boom where everything shot up. Basically, the reason why was a number of factors. We got stimulus money that helped some stuff, but that didn't help like the bigger books. No one's going to be like, oh, I have an extra $2,000. Let me spend $100,000 on an X-Men one. So that didn't really do anything. But what helped was interest rates were so low. It had a multiple effect. Number one, you had companies that wanted to expand. Think of like Google or something like that. And so by expanding, they need to hire, and then they pay their people more, because now they're basically getting loans for less than 1%, almost something like that. And then on top of that, there's a lot of companies out there that can try new things. So in order to try new things, they'll invest. So they might invest in, a startup or something like that. It's like, here's funding. Here's, $4 million to make your idea work. So during that time, you saw a lot of companies like Rally and Otis and Alt and Alley, or I forget all their names. But basically, those were companies where it's like you can own shares of a comp or a collectible. You
Yeah,
remember
I
this?
saw that. Yeah.
So it's like you don't actually own it. It stays in a vault somewhere, and who knows where.
You
And
never
then
get to
you
see
just
it, never get to touch it,
never
but
get
you
to
own
touch
a
it.
fraction
Who
of
knows if they actually exist, right? You're just assuming that they exist. They
Exactly.
could just put up a picture. Oh, I got this Action 1 here, buy a share of it. And I ranted about that when they first came out. I was like, there's so many red
Oh, I
flags, and
remember
this is
that.
a terrible idea. And anyways, so those companies got tens of millions of dollars invested into them, probably close to in total like 50 million, probably between all of them. And, so they had a bunch of money. So because interest was so cheap and money was so like basically free for these companies, they can invest in random companies like that. And so that was shot everything up. Just you look at the graphs of things, it's like slowly going up to straight up, like within a couple months, tripling in value. And a lot of the books that triple in value were books that were just what you would think like super hot and super popular. And a lot of new collectors were getting in and didn't realize like, oh, this actually has a very high print run. There's a lot out there. Like take Eternals #1.
Yeah.
Eternals #1, movies coming out, hype is all time high, and people are buying those things up. And I'm like, Eternals #1, not only did I'm not saying the print run was high compared to something else during that time. What happened was no one liked that book when it first came out.
Sure,
So a lot
exactly.
of them sat and they were all in perfect shape. So there were just a lot of nice unread Eternals #1s. And so people were like, I'm gonna buy this 9.8 for like $2 or $4 grand, whatever it was. And then they just like, oh, none of the 9.8's popping up, and none of the 9.8, and another, and another, and another. And the thing is, unless you keep on getting new collectors like every single day buying these 9.8s, the price is going to go down and down and down. And then what happened was inflation just massively went way up, and people couldn't really afford as much stuff, and people were getting laid off their jobs. Like there's the tech burst of the bubble where all those people were just laid off, just tons and tons. So all those people, like my older brother included, once making 300,000 a year, now not making nothing. So now you have to sell your comic books and collectibles to stay and buy food and housing and stuff. You can't live in a comic book, you can't eat a comic book. So that floods the market. That massively prices go down. All of what are we in 2024? So all of 2021 saw a huge spike up and slowly dropped a little bit. 2022, the first half wasn't that bad. We still saw some record prices and still some good stuff, but it was overall kind of dropping. But then the second half of 2022, it just went down. And all of 2023, it just went massively down. Right now, the beginning of the year, it's like kind of like in this iffy page where it's just kind of like, it's not really going up, not really going down. Some books are obviously going down, some are going up. Recently, things have been turning the corner. I think I've like multiple times predicted this. I always said around April, I think around April through June. It's actually taken longer than that. I think, so we're in October. I think we've been seeing like a slight uptick, if not stabilization, for the last couple of months. So if I had to guess where I see the market going, is I think the rest of this year is just kind of like unsure, but it's not really going up, not really going down. But it's not dropping. That's the thing. It's not, you're not going to buy a book at the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year it's worth 10 or 20% less. I don't see that happening. Now each book is individual, but I always thought 2025 was going to be the turnaround year. And I'm not saying like, oh my gosh, it's going to go up 3x like it did in 2021. I think we're just going to return to normalcy, which is like a 2 to 5% gain on average per book. Each book is individual, but on average, I think that will start in like 2025, probably near the beginning. I would assume kind of return
after the holidays for sure.
After the holidays, return to normalcy. Normalcy meaning like anywhere from prior to 2019 and prior. That's why I consider a normal market. So that's what I see. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that got burned because they bought at an all-time high and they're trying to sell it. I want $4,000 for this book. Well, the last known sale was $500.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, you're not going to get that, my man.
Yeah, you're just going to have to bite the bullet.
You can throw it up on eBay if you want to, but
yeah, you're just going to have to bite the bullet
and
realize that that happened. So it burned a lot of people, and that is not good, because anyone new coming in to like, I'm never collecting comics again because I got burned, and it's just yeah, it sucks. You just came in the wrong time.
Sure.
It is what it is. But overall, I think comics are fine. One of the downsides I see though, in general, is new comic book readers. That has been declining, and they more so go after, let's just pump a bunch of variants at them, and the current customer base lets us milk them for all they're worth. So that's kind of the downside. That could be a possible like issue in the future.
Yeah, it's having all those different variants out for each store in America, trying to push their books for sure.
Well, the reason why these publishers want to do variants is because you have to pay the publishers, whether it's through like ordering X amount or paying the artist, or like use like Marvel and DC. It's basically going to cost you anywhere from like $12,000 to $20,000 just to get your own store variant, with all in costs, getting the books, getting everything like that. Smaller publishers will be cheaper. And so for Marvel and DC and those publishers, like, hey, this is income stream. It's a guaranteed sales of X amount, and it's a stream of income. So they like that. Last year there was about, rough estimate, there's about 4,500 issues of comics released. So say Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that's each. So 4,500 new comic book issues released, and there's about 15,000 variants. So it's nearly every comic book had at least 3 variants. Now, obviously, some had like 100 variants, and then some had 1 or none.
Exactly.
But yeah,
we just got in a huge collection of a bunch of those variants too. So we're seeing some of those people starting to drop off of those.
So this is so sad. I got an email from a guy. He had distribution boxes. So each distribution box came with about 180 to 200 comic books, the exact same comic books, right? And they were all variant covers from Marvel from 2023. So just different ones. And each box was a different variant. So in total, he had, I think, like 14,000 comics. And, between multiple different titles and different variant covers, each of these variants, if you looked on eBay, you could sell them for $3.99. Like it wasn't like crazy any cool variants. Most variants aren't really worth that much. He wanted 25 cents per book.
Man.
And I was like, look, we don't deal in that kind of stuff. That's not what we do. So I passed it along to people that deal in that kind of stuff.
I think you sent me an email.
Did I? Yeah,
so.
I think I did. Anyone that wanted, everyone passed. Even at 25 cents. The highest offer he got was $1,000
for all of them, all the boxes,
and he was going to pay for shipping.
Oh man.
Yeah, he couldn't even. Now I don't know if he bought them like that and he like held on to them, was hoping to flip them, or if he got them from somewhere else. I don't know the origins of those distribution boxes, but
you just know he was trying to get rid of them.
He couldn't even sell them for 25 cents. I asked a lot of people that deal in this kind of stuff, people that have like mystery boxes, you stuff them in there and all that kind of stuff. No one wanted them. And they're all variants. They're like Spider-Man titles, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, it's just, it kind of sucks. Like I've never really been a fan of variants other than to look at them because they're cool to look at. But if someone's trying to invest in them, it's not the way to go. It's like 1 out of 1,000 may hit.
Oh yeah.
And it's probably even less than that. And so that's why, like, if you ever watch my channel, like there's never a time I'm suggesting someone go out and buy XYZ variant or some new comic book. It's just like, it's not worth it. Like people ask me, it's like, I have $5 to spend, what should I buy? I'm like, nothing. Like, unless you just want it for fun and you just want to read it or you think it's cool, buy it because you like it. But if you're buying for investment purposes, no.
Yeah, and with some of those, just like any key book, but if you do not sell at the right time, I remember, what is it? The Tosin for Black Panther 3. I think it was like the 1 in 25.
Yeah.
And that one, I mean, it's still an expensive book. It's the same thing with Iron Man 9.
Riri?
Riri.
Man, I got burned on that one.
It's still an expensive book, but if you didn't sell at that peak and you just watch that thing slowly trickle down, I'm sure you're just pretty upset,
Yeah, I mean, so I saw this one guy. You know the Ultimate Fallout 4 variant?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't say the
Jajevic, I think.
Jajevic. Okay,
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm terrible trying to sound out names.
Sure.
That was at one point selling for $55,000 for a 9.8. I had someone who sold one, signed and sketched on $9,000 recently on Heritage.
9.8?
9.8. That drop off. The non-signed version went for a little more, went for like 10 or 11. But think of that drop off. Like you're thinking, oh, percentage wise, from 55 to 10 is like not as much as some of the other ones, but you're losing $45,000. Like that's crazy.
It sucks that they just now decided that they wanted to sell it, you know? It should have been a year and a half ago. But I think I saw that one. Wasn't that the one with the big Spider-Man head as the remark?
Which
the variant that sold? Didn't you say it was signed and remarked?
Yes, on Heritage.
I think it had the big Spider-Man head on the front. Maybe.
Might have.
But it was very it just took over the entire front page, it looked like it.
Yeah.
But I can see why it would sell for less.
But even the non-signed, all that stuff, just the blank one, sold for like 10 or 11,000, which at its peak was selling for 55 or so, close to there. So yeah, it's just there's some variants that still hold their value. I think the one that comes to mind, I want to say is like, was it Spider-Man like 667 or something like that? Dell'Otto, I think Gabriel Dell'Otto.
Oh yeah.
That one's a really good one. That's hold its value. There's still some that hold their value, so it's not all variants are bad. It's just you have to. It's so hard because it's like, are you buying this because of the hype? Yeah, but are you buying this because everyone wants it, or are you buying it because no one even knows about it or cares about it, and then it becomes something? And that's the thing with buying new comic books is I can't ever suggest them because it's like they'll come out with this new character, right? And every artist wants to push the character. Of course, artists don't make that much money from comic book sales. They make money when all of a sudden that character ends up in a movie. Yeah. So they want to push that character as much as possible. And they also make royalties on that character. So if it's a popular character and then the next artist that takes on the book or an artist that works on a different title brings that character in, a little royalty here and there. So they're pushing this character, and then all these, YouTubers or stuff like that will push this book. Oh, you got to buy it. It's the hottest thing. And it's like, okay, you could say it's the hottest thing, but it's not going to make any money. You're going to lose money. So like, what are you buying it for?
They probably have a ton of them that they're trying to sell.
Yeah, and that's another thing is I don't sell modern books at all, so I have no skin in the game. Sometimes YouTubers will have their variants and their stuff, so they push it, and that's kind of like icky part. If I ever did a variant cover, we talked about this because I like them. And so you should buy it because you like it. But if you like it, wait till the hype dies down 3 to 6 months and then buy it. Absolutely. But if I did a variant cover, we always said we'd just give them out for free as part of our, like, you buy something in our auction, you'll get a free variant.
Hell yeah, that's a great idea.
So that would be like, if we decided to do that route, it'd be something like that.
Sure, absolutely. I think that's an awesome idea. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us, and we will be joining them over there relatively soon. So keep an eye out for that. Is there anything else you want to plug?
No, I think that's it. Oh, we have an auction if you want to get your consignments, and the auction starts November 3rd. So
send those books on in, and reach out to David if you guys want to sign up to join over on collectorscomics.com.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.